The girl who had a crush on Ryan left me paralyzed from the waist down. He knelt by my hospital bed, holding my hand guiltily, promising to take care of me for the rest of my life. But later, he hooked up with the girl in our home. I stood behind the door, unable even to turn and leave. A year after we married, Ryan's guilt had faded away. On the slope, he unlocked the wheelchair himself and pushed me into the traffic. He only said, "Donga, I don't owe you anything." When I woke up again, I was back in my junior year of college. At the spa center, Ryan was kneeling in front of me, holding a toolbox. "Ma'am, the water temperature is just right." I stared blankly at the person in front of me. At that moment, Ryan still looked very young and inexperienced. Seeing that I didn't speak, he nervously bit his lip, his face flushing with embarrassment, his eyes filled with hurt and stubbornness. "Winter, if you came here to insult me, then you've achieved your goal. Please don't disturb my work." The atmosphere froze. My best friend Jojo tried to speak up to lighten the mood, but I grabbed her wrist. I then looked up at Ryan and glanced at his name tag. "Therapist number 35, do you think your job is an insult?" I casually withdrew my gaze. "Your work attitude is problematic. You don't care about serving customers." "I want someone else." Ryan stared straight at me. In his mind, I should have been humble and fawning over him. The old Winter would never have spoken to Ryan in such a cold tone. I lay on the bed and said coldly, "Get out." Ryan's knuckles turned white as he held his toolbox. He flicked his eyelids, as if he had been deeply humiliated, and turned to leave. Once everyone had left, Jojo leaned closer to me and asked, "Did you get body snatched? Before you came, you were still defending Ryan, saying his hands were only meant to dance on piano keys, not to massage people's feet. Why did you change your mind so quickly?" I covered my face with both hands and exhaled tiredly. Looking up again, I smiled. "A guy like Ryan isn't worth my concern." Jojo smiled with relief. "Finally, you've come to your senses." That wasn't easy. As we were talking, there was a commotion outside the door. "Let me in! Don't stop me!" Summer burst in, her eyes red, and confronted me. "Winter, why did you insult Joe Sr.? He's such a proud person, how could he endure that?" Jojo furrowed her brows. "Who are you?" Summer turned her face away. "You rich girls like you would never understand how hard Jojo and I had to work to get where we are. You just leech off your parents, while we had to support ourselves. There's nothing shameful about that. It's you trust fund babies who should be reflecting on yourselves." Summer was Ryan's junior. Listen to that stubborn speech. Ryan loved Summer's never-give-up spirit. After we got married, he would often mention how Summer was like a flower that grew out of a crack in the rock. "She's the complete opposite of me, a cripple." I looked at Summer's work uniform and suddenly remembered that when Ryan started working at the spa center, she heard about it and immediately quit her job at the tea shop, following him there the next day. I looked at her and curled my lips, but unfortunately, the owner of this place is the trust fund baby you mentioned. "I'm here to tell you, you're fired." "You?" Summer's face turned pale, and panic flashed in her eyes. Ryan rushed over. Seeing him, her eyes welled up. "Senior, I was just standing up for you." I didn't expect Senior Sia to get angry. Ryan stepped in front of Summer, furrowing his brows. "Take your anger out on me, not others." I couldn't help but laugh. "During work hours, you're not working, you all treat this place like your own home?" I looked at Ryan. "Come at me? You're nothing. The two of you, pack your things and get out now, understand?" I had been pursuing Ryan for 2 years. He was a piano prodigy, with long, nimble fingers that could make even the simplest melody sound extraordinary. He played the piano while I danced. We were once the most perfect pair in everyone's eyes. Art is an expensive field. By his junior year, Ryan's family could no longer afford to support him. To stay in school, he agreed to my proposal. At the time, I was too caught up in my happiness to notice the resentment and shame in his eyes. Later, I took on all his university expenses. Upon graduation, Ryan and I naturally got engaged. But on the day of our engagement, Summer pushed me, and I fell down the stairs, breaking my spine. Ryan rushed to the hospital, kneeling by my bed with red eyes, saying, "Donga, I will marry you." But Summer was only 22 years old, and she had a good chance of being invited by an elite dance company. Could we just forget about it? Under the blankets, I clutched my numb leg, my voice choking with tears. "But Ryan, I'm a dancer too." Ryan trembled as he held my hand, tears falling onto my wrist. "Donga, please let her go, okay?" Ryan knew full well that the elite dance company he mentioned was my lifelong dream. We had just gotten engaged, and I was about to start my career. We were so close. After being discharged from the hospital, I was left partially paralyzed and could never return to the stage. Ryan begged everyone he knew, but no one could save Summer. Later, he visited me every day, crying with guilt, saying it was all his fault that I had become this way. For a long time, he never mentioned Summer once. I thought he had truly let go. "Donga, I'll take responsibility for you. Trust me." Ryan looked at me with tear-filled eyes, filled with deep emotion. I nodded, my eyes red. My wedding with Ryan went smoothly. At first, he was truly kind to me, until Summer appeared at my home. I was so angry I trembled all over, demanding, "You should be in prison. How could this happen?" Summer looked down at me, pulled out my dance costume and shoes from school, and laughed. "Senior, you left something behind. I came to return it to you." She stared at my legs and laughed, "But you probably don't need them anymore." I went crazy and lunged at her, screaming, "How dare you be here? How dare you be here?" Summer took a step back, enjoying the sight of me falling off the wheelchair and helplessly struggling to get up. She blinked. "I can stand here just fine, thanks to your wonderful father." I froze. Ryan happened to return at that moment. He frowned at Summer and hurried over to help me up. My eyes were red, and I clung tightly to his hand, pointing at Summer. "She's escaped from prison. Call the police and arrest her, quick." Ryan looked at me with sympathy. "Donga, Summer didn't escape from prison." Seeing Ryan's calm face, I completely broke down. He held me tightly and told Summer to leave quickly. That day, I bit Ryan's shoulder so hard that his white shirt was stained red with blood. It was only then that I realized that my father had seen me so depressed and feared I might do something reckless. At that time, Ryan was the only one who could bring a spark of hope into my eyes, and I had become extremely dependent on him. Ryan found my father and said he was willing to marry me and spend the rest of his life with me, on the condition that he spare Summer and ensure her record remains spotless. My father, who had only one daughter, couldn't bear to refuse, so he agreed. Later, Summer returned to school. The 2 months she had been gone were glossed over as an overseas exchange program, and she soon began receiving scholarships, becoming the envy of everyone. After learning the truth, I cried every day, consumed by anxiety and self-doubt. Ryan treated me better than before, letting me hit and scold him. After some time, I gradually felt that everything was my fault, and Ryan had sacrificed too much. I began to carefully please him. Summer never appeared again. In the 3rd year of our marriage, Ryan took full control of my family's company. My father was hospitalized due to overwork, and I wanted to visit him, but Ryan wouldn't allow it. That night, they celebrated Ryan's successful takeover of the company, drinking until the early hours of the morning. In the end, Summer drove him home. I stood in the dimly lit living room, watching my husband and the woman who had betrayed me being affectionate with each other. Ryan stumbled over, patted my head, and said, "Donga, it's too late. I don't feel safe letting Shasha go home alone. She'll stay with us tonight." After saying that, he took Summer's arm and went back to the room. A door separated us. Inside, there was laughter and intimacy. Outside, it was cold and desolate. The news that I was no longer Ryan Simmer spread throughout the entire campus. The forum was filled with discussions about it. Drama Watcher 1, betting that Winter is playing hard to get. She's chased Ryan for so long, how could she suddenly give up? Drama Watcher 2, I agree with the post above. Winter is beautiful, comes from a good family, and is talented. Ryan is just a social climber. It doesn't matter that he was blind before, now that the goddess has returned, he's got her back. Drama Watcher 3, I agree, I'll take that. Summer nights, you guys are too idle, practice your routines more. Anyone with eyes can see that Ryan Sr. doesn't like winter. She's the one who's throwing herself at him, and he doesn't want her, so she has to give up. It's so frustrating. The comment section quickly erupted into an argument, with Summer Nights holding her own against everyone, which was pretty entertaining. I looked down at my phone, and suddenly a shadow fell over my vision. I looked up to see Ryan staring at me with a stern expression. Let's talk. I grabbed my things and turned to leave. Who wants to talk to him? Looking at him now makes me sick. Winter song. Ryan caught up to me. Seeing me walk faster, he shouted from where he stood, Winter. Don't make me angry. You know the consequences. I froze. Those were the words Ryan often said after he cheated on me. Memories of him grabbing my hair and beating me flooded my mind, and my body trembled uncontrollably. I slowly turned around. He was standing not far away. That look in his eyes was definitely not the Ryan I knew now. He walked toward me slowly, stopping a step away. Like he used to call a dog, he extended his hand confidently, Come here. I froze in place, Ryan's lips curled into a faint smile. After a moment, I looked up and took a firm step back. In Ryan's stunned expression, I spoke, Go to hell. I turned and left. Ryan gritted his teeth behind me, You'll regret this. At the corner, I leaned against the wall, breathing heavily, my palms drenched in cold sweat. Even if the surface seemed calm. But the memories of manipulative abuse that had been etched into my mind for years still made me instinctively afraid of Ryan. I kept reassuring myself that I had started over, that Ryan was just an ordinary student now, and he couldn't do anything to me. But I still felt uneasy, and this panic persisted until I heard a familiar melody. This song had swept across all platforms upon its release in my previous life, becoming extremely popular. Its composer was an unknown pianist who had lived in a basement for 3 years, and the story behind the song was both heartbreaking and touching. But now, the composer's name had been changed to Ryan. I cursed him under my breath. Unfortunately, no one else knew about Ryan's despicable actions. According to the timeline of my previous life, the original composer was still only sketching out the melody and hadn't even started writing it yet. He probably even thought he'd accidentally come up with the same melody as Ryan. Just like before, the song grew increasingly popular, and many people came knocking on Ryan's door to buy the copyright. Ryan suddenly became the talk of the entire academy. He used the song to solve his financial difficulties. The days of not being able to pay tuition or afford food are gone. Though I despise Ryan's actions, I have no evidence to prove it, so I can only watch this villain rise to fame. I saw Ryan again 2 weeks later. He was playing Wedding Dream outside the girls' dormitory. Under the streetlight, Ryan was dressed in a suit, but his gaze was arrogant to the extreme. Everyone around him was fawning over him, and the young girls were so excited they could barely breathe. After the song ended, Ryan stood up and looked at the crowd, saying with deep emotion, Xia xia, be my girlfriend. Ryan looked at Summer with burning eyes, and the students cheered one after another. I watched from the dorm window, moved to tears, covering my mouth and nodding fiercely, I will. The two embraced each other. Ryan saw me. He held Summer in his arms, raised his eyebrows, and gave me a sly smile. I rolled my eyes and closed the curtains. Ryan and Summer's relationship was intense. They broke into the music studio late at night, played the piano and danced inside, and were chased by security guards across half the campus. They defied school rules to perform at a commercial event, went viral online, and became the envy of netizens as a divine couple. They kissed and took photos on the piano statue symbolizing musicians' faith. Summer's fair feet rested on the piano keys, while Ryan knelt beside her, carefully painting her nails. Of course, none of this had anything to do with me. After being reborn, I cherished every single second. The feeling of being able to dance freely was utterly captivating. I started preparing for the dance troupe a year in advance, practicing in the rehearsal room until my clothes were soaked through with sweat. It was fulfilling and happy. Ryan, Summer, your behavior has seriously damaged the school's reputation. After discussion among the teachers, it has been decided to issue you both a disciplinary warning. Standing at the office door, I heard their names and felt a bit dazed. I gently knocked on the door. The advisor saw me and relaxed slightly. I handed him the form. "Here's the list you asked for, sir." The advisor took it and looked at Summer. "You and Winter are in the same major. Her current skills are on par with those who have been in the dance troupe for years. Look at you, all you do is show off with flashy moves. You should learn from Senior Sia. In this field, romance doesn't matter, skill is what counts." Summer forced a smile and nodded, but her gaze toward me was filled with hatred. "All right, your disciplinary actions will be handled by the college." "Wait." Ryan interrupted the instructor, smiled, and said, "Teacher, please take a look at this first before deciding whether to discipline us." He handed the instructor a sheet of sheet music. The instructor looked at it with growing surprise, while my brows furrowed deeper. I looked up at Ryan. He met my gaze without a hint of guilt, his expression even smug. "Teacher, you're a professional. You know better than me how valuable this piece is." Ryan comfortingly took Summer's hand. "I haven't released the piece yet, so I can add the school's name to the credit. As for the punishment, you don't want me, your living advertisement, to have a stain on my reputation, do you?" The instructor fell silent, placed the sheet music on the desk, and said, "You two go back first. I'll discuss this with the school and get back to you." "Thank you, teacher." Ryan nodded and led Summer out of the office. I said goodbye to the advisor and rushed out after them. "Ryan, wait up." Summer saw me and immediately stood in front of Ryan, glaring at me. "Winter, have you no shame? He's my boyfriend now." I stared at Ryan, my eyes nearly on fire. Ryan patted Summer's head. "Be good, go back first." He leaned close to Summer's ear. "You've always wanted to join the Grandeur Dance Company, right? I'll give you a surprise in a few days." Summer smiled and playfully hit him, "But you're not allowed to get too close to her." "Got it, baby." I forced myself to wait until Summer left, then asked, "You stole someone else's song again? You know better than anyone that this song was used by Teacher Tong to save his lover's life. How can you live with yourself?" Ryan sneered. "What's there to feel guilty about? Tong didn't finish that song until half a year later, by which time his wife was already in the late stages of her illness. What good would the song's popularity do then? It's better to use it to enhance my resume and let it serve its purpose. Tong is your mentor. He was the one who brought you out of the mountains." Ryan roared, "Once the song becomes popular and I have money, I'll lend him the surgery fees. I'm doing this to help him." I was speechless. Ryan's values once again shattered my moral compass. "You're shameless. You keep stealing others' work. The song will eventually lose its appeal. One day, everyone will realize you're a fraud." Ryan shrugged indifferently. "That'll probably be years from now. If it comes to that, I'll just admit I've run out of ideas and retire behind the scenes. Everyone will only feel sorry for me and remember me as the young genius Ryan who was once rich and famous. What do I have to fear from rumors then?" Ryan leaned closer to me, his eyes filled with hatred. "Winter, do you regret it now? I gave you a chance. The first thing I did after I was reborn was to find you, but you didn't take it. Now I'm the prodigy everyone admires, and you're the pitiful outcast. I'll make sure you and your stupid father get what you deserve." I was confused. What does this have to do with my father? Ryan's eyes flashed with disgust as he sneered. "Do you know why I came back later than you? Because after you died, I had to flee for a year. All of this is thanks to your father, that old fart. I could have used your husband's identity to seamlessly take over all of the Sia family's shares. But your father had a backup plan. On the day your death was announced, his lawyer donated all the shares and handed over the evidence that Xia Xia pushed you off the building to the police. Xia Xia's reputation was ruined, and when she was arrested, she panicked and ran onto the road, where she was hit by a truck and died instantly. She was already 3 months pregnant at the time. Ryan grew more and more agitated. Your father deserves to die. He even arranged for someone to investigate your death in advance, trying to send me to prison. Because of him, I had to flee for over a year. That stroke-stricken old fool should have rotted away in a nursing home. Why did he come out to interfere with me? I suddenly froze. Before the incident, my father had already been hospitalized. It turned out he knew everything. He even arranged everything for me before he passed away. My eyes stung. Winter, now that I'm back, it means heaven doesn't think I deserve that ending. The Xia family owes me and Xia Xia, and they should pay it back, bit by bit. I slowly looked at Ryan, my eyes red, murmuring, yes, they should. In your previous life, you took the Grandeur Dance Company audition. You should still remember the first place dance moves, right? Ryan said it so casually, copy them and give them to Xia Xia. That first place must be Xia Xia's. I clenched my fists tightly and sneered, fine. Ryan was pleased that I was so reasonable. Winter, admit it. No matter how many times we start over, you'll still fall in love with me. Don't worry, as long as you obey me, I'll consider it. Ryan left with a smug expression, and I watched his back, my gaze growing colder and colder. There were 3 months left until the Grandeur Dance Company audition. Summer, having received Ryan's signal, came to the rehearsal room every day to find me. I taught her to dance with all my heart. Summer looked at me with a mocking expression. Thanks to the goddess, you're not so great after all. You went to all that trouble to choreograph the dance, and now you're just handing it over to me. It seems Ryan told her this dance was mine. Yeah, I wonder if you can even handle such a great dance. That's none of your concern. I'll definitely dance better than you. Summer was confident, hoping she could look down on everyone else on the day of the audition. While we were preparing for the audition, Ryan wasn't idle either. He signed up for an obscure competition. The competition was small-scale, but who could have known that such a minor event would attract the attention of international masters afterward? The top few participants in this competition later became renowned figures in the industry. Thanks to the fame Ryan had gained earlier, the competition he entered received attention earlier than it would have in his previous life. Riding on the coattails of others' fame, Ryan easily won the competition. The master who had been watching the competition from behind the scenes naturally noticed Ryan, but what I didn't expect was that on the day the final results were announced, the person who awarded Ryan the prize wasn't the master. When a slightly younger face appeared on screen, I was taken aback. On the live broadcast, Ryan's eyebrows furrowed imperceptibly, clearly displeased that this person was presenting him with the award. But in front of everyone, he couldn't make a scene. His eyes fixed on the trophy, his expression calculating, contrasting sharply with the calm demeanor of the man beside him. The man looked at Ryan and smiled. I've heard your previous works. Each one is amazing. May I ask you a question? Ryan kept his eyes on the trophy, his tone indifferent, even a bit impatient. Go ahead. The man didn't take offense at his rudeness and remained polite. I'm curious about the emotional range in your music. For example, your first original piece was about hope and passion, but the second one was very heavy and sorrowful. The 2 pieces were only about 2 weeks apart. What inspired you to make such a significant shift in such a short time? Ryan's expression froze, and a clear look of panic flashed in his eyes. The reporters' flashes were aimed at them, eager to get the scoop. But several minutes passed, and Ryan still didn't say a word. After a while, he frowned and said indifferently, composition is a very private matter. I don't want to talk about it publicly. I can't answer your question. The man's smile faltered, and he nodded in understanding. I'm sorry, I was being too forward. Once someone becomes famous, they are endlessly forgiven. Ryan's behavior was naturally attributed to the eccentricities of an artist. After the competition, Ryan became a rising star in the piano world, in high demand. He spent his days mingling with the elite in various business venues, and I hadn't seen him in the practice room for a long time. Additionally, the winner of the competition was traditionally taken under the wing of the master, but in this lifetime, aside from a mere spectacle, the master never made an appearance. Though it was strange, I didn't think much of it, attributing it to the butterfly effect of reincarnation. After Ryan gained fame, he befriended some influential figures in the local area. The first thing he did was cause trouble for my father's company. During this time, my father was so busy he couldn't even come home once a week. Ryan called me. He said, "This is just a warning. Teach Xia well, do you understand?" I clenched the phone tightly, yes. After I finished teaching Summer the dance moves for the exam, she didn't come to the rehearsal room again. She only rushed to practice a few times before the exam. Soon, it was time for the Grandeur Dance Company's audition. Summer had prepared her dance costume early and even hired a makeup artist, looking radiant when she arrived at the audition venue. The audition was conducted in a fully transparent and open format, with all candidates able to watch on site, and the entire process was recorded. The first few groups of candidates were all fairly evenly matched, and the teacher seemed quite satisfied. Summer stood behind me and whispered, "I wonder why you even bothered coming here, you're just asking for embarrassment." I curled my lips and nodded, "I'm looking forward to Jiang Shuemei making me look bad." When the examiner called my name, I ignored Summer's sarcasm and stepped forward. As the music began, I danced with all my might, just like I had in countless days of practice. In an instant, the surrounding noise faded away, and I felt as though a spotlight was shining on my head. I was wearing my most beautiful dance costume, dancing the dance I loved. When the music ended, I opened my eyes and took a few shallow breaths. The surroundings were quiet, so quiet that all I could hear was my own breathing. Someone started clapping, and soon the applause grew loud. I smiled and bowed. As I left the stage, my sisters came up to congratulate me, "You danced so well." Everyone was mesmerized, and the judges were nodding the whole time. "You've got this." "Thank you." I didn't humble myself, because no one knew better than I did how much effort I had put into preparing for this exam. I will keep working hard to deserve these flowers and applause. Pfft, what are you pretending? Summer rolled her eyes beside me. Soon it was her turn to perform. To be fair, Summer does have some natural talent. She doesn't practice diligently, but she has a good natural foundation. Her performance wasn't particularly outstanding, but she didn't make any mistakes either. It was a shame that the dance was performed so by the book. I had actually had some expectations for her. Summer's performance received a lot of applause for its innovative angles. She walked off the stage with her head held high, unaware that a senior teacher in the judging panel was frowning. As Summer passed by me, she deliberately bumped into me and smiled. "Sorry, senior, I stole your spotlight." I curled my lips and looked at her without saying a word. Summer felt uneasy under my gaze and snorted before walking away. I shifted my gaze to the judge's table. The teacher who had been frowning exchanged a few words with his colleague, and then their eyes casually glanced at Summer. Summer, who had been confident of victory, also sensed something was off and nervously clutched her skirt. All the candidates had finished their performances and should have been able to leave immediately, but we were all kept behind. The venue was immediately sealed off, and the organizing committee arrived. Everyone whispered among themselves, speculating wildly, afraid that this might have something to do with them. I remained calm, but Summer couldn't sit still. She quietly came over to me, her voice trembling. "Winter, did you do something?" I smiled. "Summer, if you're innocent, you have nothing to fear. Why are you so nervous?" Summer gritted her teeth. "If you ruin me, Ryan won't forgive you." I remained expressionless, ignoring everything she said. The organizing committee brought in a computer and compared the footage with the exam recordings repeatedly. The atmosphere grew increasingly tense, with several teachers staring at Summer, their eyes almost popping out of their sockets. Summer tried to contact Ryan, but her phone had already been confiscated, and she couldn't reach anyone outside. Half an hour later, the organizing committee announced on the spot that Summer's exam results were invalid. Why? Summer shouted, her meticulously applied makeup slightly distorted. The committee members didn't care about her feelings and continued, not only is your score invalid, but Summer will be banned from participating in any exams or competitions organized by any organization for the next 5 years. Additionally, we have already reported this incident to the police. Summer must accompany us to the police station to explain how you obtained the confidential dance project that hasn't been released yet. As soon as the words left their mouths, the entire room erupted in chaos. Summer panicked, her eyes red and voice trembling. I didn't steal it. It wasn't me. She looked at me, and I knew it was all my fault. She grabbed my arm, desperate to defend herself. It was her. She taught me all the dance moves for this performance. Arrest her. My eyes welled up with tears. Junior, you must be panicking. I've never seen you dance this before, and everyone knows we don't get along. If I knew how to dance this beautifully, why would I teach you? You bitch. You knew all along, didn't you? I let Summer push me down weakly, tears welling up in my eyes. Junior, it's okay if you hate me. It's all the seniors' fault. Calm down and don't scare the other students. Summer screamed and lunged at me, but was held back by security personnel. The other students helped me up and comforted me. I wiped away my tears and glanced at Summer with a look of contempt. This action caused her to scream again. I hid in the crowd, terrified, watching her go crazy. It was the same in my previous life. Summer was always weak, and now she was getting back at me for everything she had done to me in the past, only worse. Because Summer insisted that I had leaked the dance moves to her, the organizing committee investigated me. However, they found nothing. I have Ryan to thank for that. He rented rehearsal rooms at his own expense to practice dancing, destroying all surveillance footage to prevent Summer from being harmed. His goal was to prevent me from having any evidence that I had taught Summer the dance, thereby stealing her glory. But he never anticipated that this would actually work in my favor. After all, there was no connection between me and the confidential dance project, while Summer and Ryan were known throughout the school as troublemakers. What taboo would they dare not cross? Stealing a dance routine was just par for the course. Moreover, Summer, Ryan, and I were always on the front page of the forum, and the organizing committee only needed to ask around to know we weren't on good terms. This only proved that Summer was desperate and lashing out. As for me, I've been the victim from start to finish. This matter is serious. Summer has been expelled from school and faces potential legal consequences. Winter, you betrayed me. Ryan cornered me on the street. The bloodshot veins in his eyes showed how much he'd been running around for Summer lately. I smiled. How could that be? I did everything you asked me to do. Ryan was furious. I told you to help Xia win first place, and this is how you helped her? I looked at him like he was a monkey. Aren't you two always into stealing things? This time you stole a big one, and you're still not satisfied? Winter, I'll make you pay for this. Ryan stormed off angrily. I pulled out my phone and made a call. It's time to act. After that day, Ryan panicked. He started rushing around various business clubs, busy expanding his network. Finally, at a large cocktail party, Ryan hooked up with a female boss. This woman was a renowned entrepreneur with a fortune so vast it couldn't be counted on both hands. Following her, Ryan indeed gained access to many upper-class circles. It was said that their latest pastime was drinking and chatting while a group of people gathered below, with Ryan playing music beside them. Those interested could even join in for a few rounds. Ryan could only smile and cater to the wealthy women and men. When Ryan thought he had become close enough to the wealthy woman to ask her to help Summer clean up the mess, he took the opportunity to propose the idea. But the wealthy woman flew into a rage, scolding him for being an ungrateful wretch who couldn't tell the master from the servant, daring to mention his mistress in front of his sugar daddy. Ryan's face turned pale with fear, and he hurried to calm her down. By the time I heard this, I was laughing so hard my stomach hurt. As for how I knew, it's because that wealthy woman is my aunt. Daughter, how much longer do we have to keep this up? That gold digger is so annoying. Her ulterior motives are written all over her face. It's so boring. My aunt lay on the sofa complaining. I lowered my eyes. Yeah, Ryan's thoughts have always been written on his face. In his past life, only I was blind enough not to notice. Almost there, just hold on a little longer. My aunt sighed and poked my forehead. My dad doesn't know about my collaboration with my aunt. He and my mom fell in love freely. At the time, my dad had nothing, and my grandfather opposed the marriage. My mom eloped, which made my grandfather furious. He said some harsh words, but my mom has a strong personality, so she rarely visited the family afterward. After giving birth to me, my mother's health deteriorated, and she came to realize many things. She regretted breaking ties with the family, but unfortunately, she had just reconciled with my grandfather when she passed away. After that, my father and I rarely contacted that side of the family, so Ryan didn't know about my grandfather's family in the previous life. Last time I heard Ryan mention that after my death, my father had made arrangements. I had already guessed that my father had gone to beg my grandfather for help. At that time, my grandfather was already hospitalized, and even with his connections, he couldn't have planned that far ahead. The only thing I could think of was that my grandfather's side had helped out. After being reborn, I often visited my grandfather's house. Though he didn't welcome me with words, he always prepared my favorite dishes himself and insisted on drinking tea and playing chess with me. My aunt also doted on me, and she would cry whenever she saw me. Later, I asked my dad about it indirectly, and he didn't deny it, saying that I should get closer to my grandfather's side. Seeing that there was no hope with my aunt, Ryan started thinking of other ways. Within a month, he wrote 10 songs, which caused a sensation and earned him the title of hitmaker. When I saw the news, I cursed him under my breath, then made a call. It's time to act. 3 days later, at the height of Ryan's fame, someone claiming to be the original creator posted a video. In the video, he detailed his creative process, including the dates of his handwritten and digital drafts, with evidence pointing to his work being identical to Ryan's newly released piece. If it had been just one person, it might have been overlooked, but over a dozen people posted the same content simultaneously. Ryan was at the center of the media storm, with outlets rushing to report on the story. Ryan rushed to issue a public statement, tearfully declaring, "I know I'm too talented to avoid jealousy, but I didn't expect this. Every song is like my child. If I had plagiarized, I wouldn't need you to sue me, I'd go to jail myself." Public opinion was deeply divided. At this point, the video creator struck back, "I couldn't afford to buy a new piano, so the composition has a note that's slightly off-key. Anyone with an ear can tell it's wrong," and Ryan even copied that wrong note in his sheet music. Ryan tried to defend himself, but one person's appearance completely shattered him. It was a scholarly-looking man wearing glasses, accompanied by his wife who was battling cancer. He pulled out a sheet of music and said, "This piece was written by me 6 months ago. My wife was diagnosed with cancer, and I composed it out of grief. The style was too heavy, so I didn't want to get stuck in a negative mindset and never released it. But a few months ago, I heard it being played by one of my students." With tears in his eyes, Tong teacher confronted Zhang Ling across the screen, pointing out that the second section of the sheet music contained a line written using his wife's nickname. "If you claim this piece is yours, can you explain that?" Everyone was arguing fiercely. A netizen commented, "Actually, the style of these pieces Ryan released has changed too much. It's impossible for a composer to change their compositional habits so easily in such a short time, let alone write so many pieces at once. Of course, if he's the versatile Sakura, then never mind." Originally, this comment was pretty low-key, but it was reposted by a big shot in the industry and quickly became a viral hit. The person who reposted it was actually someone I knew. He was the man who had asked Ryan a question at the competition. Later, I found out that he was a renowned piano master from abroad and the younger disciple of the world-renowned master everyone was expecting. Since he had just returned to the country and was keeping a low profile, he rarely appeared in front of the cameras. With the endorsement from an authoritative figure, everyone calmed down. Some bloggers even made video analyses, breaking down the tracks piece by piece to debunk the claims. In the end, Ryan was thoroughly exposed. I watched all of this unfold on my phone, not the least bit surprised. A text message came in, "Boss, mission accomplished." I quickly settled the final payment with the other party. That's right, I was the one who did it all. I contacted the original composer of the song Ryan had stolen and confirmed with them whether the song was still in the creation process. When I found them, several people were already deeply doubting themselves. After hearing the song Ryan had released, they initially thought it was just a coincidence at the beginning, but as they continued to create, they realized that what they were writing was identical to Ryan's. They despised themselves, feeling unworthy of being composers, and even considered ending their lives. Yet the one responsible for all this was enjoying the benefits, eating the fruits of others' labor with a clear conscience. The person who surprised me the most was Tong Lauscher. When I donated money to his wife, I learned that he had written a song. The sheet music, dusty and forgotten in the corner of a bookshelf, was filled with heartfelt lyrics. Mr. Tong had written this song when his wife first fell ill. In his previous life, he refused to release such a heart-wrenching piece because he believed his wife would still be healthy without it. Unfortunately, the family's savings were depleted, and Mr. Tong had no choice but to release the song. None of this was known in his previous life. This is what led Ryan into a major pitfall. Plagiarizing a mentor's work is despicable in any industry. With the added pressure of public opinion, Ryan fell from the clouds into the mud. He was completely finished. The last time I saw Ryan was at a nightclub owned by my grandfather. My aunt was just saying she wanted to give me the club as a birthday gift when suddenly there was a commotion in the room across the hall. A disheveled woman and a man holding his hand rushed out. "Ryan, are you even human?" That old man could be my father. I lay on the bed, coldly saying, "Get out." Without me, Ryan was sweating profusely, holding his hand, with blood trickling down his wrist. It seemed like he'd never be able to play the piano again. I signaled the manager to clear the area and learned the details of what happened. Summer had served a year in prison for what happened back then. After she was released, Ryan found her and introduced her to a big boss he knew from before. But the big boss was nearly 60, and Summer couldn't accept it. She picked up a fruit knife from the table and injured Ryan. Upon hearing this, I stepped back. "Xiao Wang, we need to call the police. Our store is a legitimate and reputable establishment. This kind of behavior with a customer is unacceptable and will ruin our reputation." Ryan only then realized that the boss was me. Ignoring his bleeding hand, he charged forward, but was immediately subdued by the bodyguards. "Winter! It's all your fault. You're the one who ruined me. Why didn't you just die? You should have died like you did in your previous life." I grabbed his chin and gave it a gentle twist, dislocating it. I leaned in close to his ear and laughed coldly. "I, Winter, have never been a good person. I repay grudges with grudges and wrongs with wrongs. Did you really think you could become famous by stealing a few songs? Without the backing of capital to fuel your rise, if I didn't want you to, you wouldn't even be able to show your face. I'm going to lift you up high and then crush you into the dust, so that it can compensate for even a fraction of the pain I endured in the past. Fool, you've been following the path I laid out for you from the start, first to glory, then to death." Ryan glared at me, unable to utter a word. I wiped my hands in disgust and ordered them to throw him out. Ryan was right about one thing: his rebirth was something even heaven couldn't bear to watch. If Ryan, without his past memories, were to face this punishment now, he might still think he was innocent. Now it's perfect. He'll carry the memories of 2 lifetimes and live in eternal regret. Oh, and the case about him plagiarizing someone's work was officially adjudicated soon after. The sentence was pretty harsh, enough to keep him comfortable for the rest of his life. I also smoothly joined the Grandeur Dance Company and became a principal dancer 2 years later, standing on the world stage. A world without scum is so good. I walked hand in hand with my family, exploring every corner under the sun.